I'm Mike, also known as Skilly. I live in Cape Town, South Africa, and as of this morning, we are on lockdown. That means we can't leave the house. For 3 weeks, we won't be able to leave the house. So, what are we going to do for 3 weeks? I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be drawing and painting. And I thought it'd be a good idea if you could come with me and I'll teach you how to draw and paint watercolors. We'll take it one step at a time. We'll start off with the very basics and we'll move along day by day. Please join me. Okay, let's begin. Start off by drawing a straight line across the page like that. I want you to imagine that that is the horizon. Now the horizon is never level unless you're sitting on the beach looking out at sea. Remember, it's going to be a painting at the end of the day. It's going to be a farmscape. It's going to be labourers' cottages. And the simplest way I can do that is to make it a square box, which is very similar to the cottages that we have here in the Western Cape. So if I draw a rectangle here, like that, there, like that there, I've already got in my mind what I'm going to, how this drawing is going to end up, but I want to explain it step by step. Now you'll notice that the horizon line is going straight through that rectangle. Now, what I need to explain here is why the horizon line goes through this rectangle at that height. Here I've drawn a stick man. He's he or she is 1.8 meters tall. Eye line is there. Whatever they're looking at is 1.8 meters above the ground. So that point there is relative to the horizon, is 1.8 meters high. So if you're drawing a building, and in this case a cottage, that horizon line is 1.8 meters above the floor level, right? So if I draw a door there, like that, now you can put some sort of scale to it, because if you walk through a door, you would walk around about that height below the underside of the door. So that door now gives this little building some scale, and from that everything else will evolve. Now these cottages are very simple. They have a front door and they have two small side windows, there and there, like that. And there's another one on that side there, like that, there, like that. Okay, that's essentially as big as this cottage is. Now, what you're looking at here is the front elevation of the little cottage. The horizon line now runs through the back of the house. Like that, you don't see that anymore, right? Now, this is a flat face, and we need to give it some depth. In order to give it some depth, we have to draw it in perspective. Now, perspective is done by creating a magical point on the horizon. In this case, I'm going to put it here. It's called the infinity point. And if I had to be standing in the middle of the road here, that road would run from infinity to there, like that. So what is maybe 2 meters wide here would be 2 meters wide there, and 2 meters wide there, and so on. And it disappears off into infinity. And based on that, we can now create depth within this little building that we've got here. So I know, because I've done a little bit of work, that this building is about 4 or 5 meters wide, 6 meters wide, and it's probably about 4 meters deep. From the infinity point there, if I draw a line there and I draw a line from there to there, that's the perspective line. Now I'm going to now draw a line here, which will immediately give that little cottage some depth. Now we're only dealing with 1-point perspective at the moment. We'll do 2-point perspectives at a later date. But for now, we'll deal with this magical infinity point and the horizon. So now if our stick man had to walk through the door, his head would be there, which, as I say, gives this little cottage some sense of scale. Now, I'd like to do another cottage a little bit further back, because these things are generally in sets or 2 or 3. So I'm going to take this infinity line, and now you know why I put it on the board. It's easiest to draw like this. I take the infinity line from there to there, and I take a point there, and I run it parallel to the horizontal, and that point there is going to be that point there of the next cottage. Okay, so I draw a vertical line there like that. That's my ground line there, like that. Now bear in mind what I said earlier about the front door. The front door is going to be there, like that. Yeah, it's going to be that sort of height above the horizon line, and then the 2 windows. One window will go there, like that, and the other window will go there, like that. Now I can draw this wall here, and I can draw the top of the roof line more or less there, like that. So now I've got 2 cottages. Because the infinity line point is there, these lines, the back lines of the cottage would go back like that. So you don't see the side wall of this cottage. That's the way it is there. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the basics of setting up a drawing like this. Now when you do a landscape, any landscape, doesn't matter how simple or complex, you have to bear the perspective in mind. Now once you've done the basic outline like that, you can start thinking about the detail. Now the detail of this is that if you walk into this front door here, the door is never right on the ground. It's generally raised a little bit. So we'll do a plinth there like that. Now that plinth runs down the side of the house there. Again, from the infinity point there, we take that there back to the infinity point there like that. And that plinth now goes right around the house. The same thing here. We need a plinth on which the house stands. Right, so now to get into that door, we need some steps. So I'm going to just indicate the steps like that. Again, infinity line, the steps go back there like that, and go down there like that. And we have an idea of the steps. Because we're looking at this pretty much straight on, the steps will be there like that. Okay, now I'm going to sharpen my pencil again because it's getting a bit blunt. And I'm going to start talking a little bit more about the detail. So now to start giving this drawing a little bit of character, I'm going to do a little bit more detail on the door. But before I do that, I need to think about where the sun is. For the purposes of this drawing, I'm going to say the sun's coming from my top right hand corner to the front of this house. So this front of this cottage will be in full light. The shadows are created from the sun, which would mean that this wall here is now going to be in shade. You don't see the 2 side walls of this house, so that doesn't apply there. But why I say that now is because with the perspective infinity point being there and the light being there, I'm going to give this little cottage some depth. So I'm going to thicken the walls. So I really go from the infinity point to there, I go from the infinity point to there, and I can now thicken this wall here, right? There like that. Now that wall is that thick. The same thing applies here. Make this little window a little bit wider, but this there, I'll do it like that, and like that. Now you don't see that side because the infinity point is there. So the same thing would apply with the door. I'm going to have the infinity point to there. If I draw a little line there to as thick as I want the walls to be, there and there. Now I've got a door which has got a little bit of depth to it. Here, a little bit more difficult, it's further away, so I'm going to just thicken up the walls a little bit there like that to get the impression. Remember the infinity points here, so this wall will be visible, and this will be slightly visible on the top there, like that. So now we've got a structure with some depth. These cottages also have chimneys to the side of them, which is where the ovens cooking ovens are. So I'm going to create a bit of a chimney down the side of the house here. Vertical lines, horizontal lines, comes down vertical, right, like that there. These things have got an oven which sticks out like that and goes down there. Now this oven is not in line with the front of the house, it's a bit further back, so it won't be here, it would be, say, there. The sun is coming from the front of the house, so that elevation will be in full sun, but there will be shade coming from the side. So you'll have sided, for instance, this chimney here will be in shadow. And this wall will be fully in shadow. Like that. So we do that whole wall like that with hatch lines. You get used to doing this. Try and keep them all in the same format. Here like that. Like that. And this one, because it's looking straight at the infinity point, doesn't have any lines, shadows on either side. What you also want is to darken these windows, because they are there are no curtains in these windows generally, so I'll make the interiors dark, so we just darken up those windows like that. Okay, bear in mind that line goes there like that. The same thing with this door here. We hatch these doors, the top of the door, because it's looking at the dark interior of the house. And hatch that one there like that. And then this window here too. Okay, then just highlight that line there and that line there. And the same thing applies here. This door is open completely, so we'll darken that door there, like that. I'll make these darker later, but for now it gives you an idea of where we're going. Okay, now I like to darken the lines of the areas which are in shadow like that. This thing to accentuate the borders of the building. This side, because the sun is coming from there, this wall will be in shadow. This wall, this is in shadow, that's in shadow, this is in shadow, that's in shadow, that's in shadow, that's in shadow, like that. That would be this whole bit here. That's the thickness of the wall will be in shadow. This will be in shadow here. Not the bottom so much, but this will be shadow here. This thickness of the wall will be in shadow. There's the thickness of the wall here, which is here, which is this inside of the moulding. That's in shadow. So you darken those lines there like that, and then the top. We can thicken that line there. We can thicken that line there. Thicken that line there. These are all the shadow lines. Okay, I'm not going to do much more with you now. What I'd like you to do is go and get the materials that you need, as I showed you here. I want you to practice the drawing that I've done here, the simple drawing. Do it a few times and use both sides of the paper. Practice. Get the idea, the concept. This is very stiff and rigid. When we come to doing the watercolors later, they'll be much looser, but the principle still applies. To get your perspectives correct and to get the scaling correct, you need to know the basic principles of perspective. And we'll take it from there. Thanks. See you next time.